Welcome to Nerdy and Flirty, a podcast designed to help you create a life that you love. It's nerdy with science-backed information, and it's flirty. It's fun, it's quick, it's straight to the point. My name is Cass, and welcome back to the podcast. Happy Monday. I hope you're having a great day, a great week. It is officially summer, and I am so happy about it. My last day of work was on Friday. I'm a dance teacher, if you didn't know that. This is my first summer off in literally so long. I started working when I was like 13, working in the summers, and now I finally have a summer off doing absolutely nothing. So if you didn't listen to my summer bucket list, go listen to that because I have tons of summer plans for this summer, but I'm just excited about it. It's been beautiful here in New Jersey. It's been like the perfect summer weather. So I'm just very excited. I'm very happy about it. And I hope you're having fun too. Today's episode is the long-awaited story time of my ACL, how I tore it, how it's going, how everything's been, how my recovery's been, all that. I know a lot of you guys have been very invested in this, which I'm very happy about. It feels very nice to have people on my team. This is the full story time. I'm officially 12 weeks post-op. It's been a journey, let me just tell you that, from the actual injury to the surgery to the physical therapy. It's been a long journey and I'm still only 3 months in, but it's been going good and I want to share everything about it, from how it happened to how the surgery went to how physical therapy is, and even just some tips or things that I wish I knew beforehand, because let me tell you, this process has been a journey for so many other reasons besides just the injury. Like obviously the physical recovery is something, but the mental side of it and even just the whole like advocating for yourself in the medical field is something that I was not quite expecting or prepared for, and I definitely want to share that part as well. So buckle up, get some popcorn, and get ready because this episode is going to be something special, I'll tell you that. So let's rewind all the way back into the winter. I know that we're in summer now, but let's rewind to the winter, back in around January. So back then, I was going to yoga religiously, at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. And I have this little friend group that goes to yoga with me, a group of 5 of us, 5 girls, and they were planning a ski trip. And they're like, Cass, you should come too. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love to ski. I haven't been skiing in a few years, but I have my own skis. I would love to come. That would be so much fun. And they're like, yeah, we're renting a house in Tannersville. It's going to be so much fun. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never been to Tannersville. I've heard a lot about it. That would be awesome, right? I'm so excited. So we planned the trip for the end of February. Leading up to this, me and my one friend Tess were getting all excited about it. We're talking about it. Me and her were going to drive together, and then the other 3 girls were driving together because they took off work. And me and Tess were going to meet them later because we had to work that Friday. So we're planning this trip. And I offered to drive, me and my friend Tess, because whatever, I wanted to drive. I thought it would be nice. And we could put our skis and everything that we need in the back of my car. So leading up to the trip, me and her are talking about it. We got our ski tickets, we got everything we need, but in this trip, I want it to be very clear, I was not the main planner. Usually when I go on trips, I'm the person planning everything out, sending everyone what to do, all that kind of stuff, but this trip, I kind of just joined into a trip that was happening with or without me, so I was taking the back seat. I just followed the links people sent, I sent the money where I needed to send the money, and I was good to go, right? Well, leading up to the trip, we buy our tickets and all that stuff. I don't really think much of it because I'm like, I've never been to this place. I would love to go. Sounds awesome. Here's my money. Let's do it, right? Well, the day that it's time to leave, me and my friend Tess are talking about it, and she's like, yeah, we should leave like as soon as possible because it's like a 4.5-hour drive. I was like, 4.5 hours? There's no way Tannersville is 4.5 hours from here. It's probably like 3, not even, maybe like 2.5. She's like, no, I'm pretty sure it's like over 4 hours. So we look it up, and I thought we were going to Tannersville, Pennsylvania, which is also a ski town. Turns out we're going to Tannersville, New York, which is much further and also a ski town. So thank God we got that squared away before we started driving, because I literally would have driven us to Tannersville, Pennsylvania, and Tess would have had no idea because I was the one doing the GPS and all the driving. So I should have known at this point that it was gonna be a crazy ass weekend, but instead, you know, we show up and we have fun, right? So Friday we get there, the other girls are already there, we have a nice little night. Saturday is the ski day. Now, let me just preface this and say, I grew up skiing. I have told people this story, and a lot of people think that this was my first time skiing. No. I grew up skiing. I probably skied for the first time at like 4 years old with my parents. We always went up to the Poconos. I skied dozens and dozens of times. Now that I'm older, I'm not as wild or risky when I go skiing, but I've been skiing a lot of times. And when I was younger, I did all kinds of stuff. I would do the terrain park. I would go on those little pipes and try to go down them. I would do little jumps, nothing crazy. I wasn't doing any flips, but I would say a pretty good skier. I would say even now I'm still a pretty decent skier. I'm just not as risky. I'm a lot more nervous going. But I've been skiing a lot of times, right? So I was excited to go skiing. I hadn't been skiing in a couple years, and I was excited to try out a new mountain. We were in upstate New York, so I heard the snow is better. Like, I was just excited to go, right? And we had a great time. Like, we had so much fun going down the different slopes. There was all kinds of green and blue, which are the more beginner, intermediate ones. I didn't do any black diamonds. There was no way I was doing a black diamond nowadays, but the blues, they were awesome, and we were having a lot of fun. We skied all day, the whole time we were there, and it was the last 5 minutes that the mountain was open. And you have to do one more before you leave, right? So me, Tess, and Peyton, us three, we were like, let's do one more. There's this blue one that we didn't get to do, and we were like, should we do it? Should we not? We have 5 minutes left. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And I had this gut feeling. I'm like, I don't know if I should do one more. Maybe I should stop here. It's been a good day. We did a lot of slopes. Maybe I should just go sit with the other girls and wait. And I was like, no, I should go, right? I'm having this little internal battle, but in my gut, I knew I should have sat my butt down, but instead my ego won the battle. And I was like, let me do one more. And this guy comes up to us, this younger, interesting, weird guy. He was drinking a beatbox, which if you know a beatbox, they're disgusting. They're like these alcohol, nasty things. And he's talking to us and he's like, you have to do this slope. It's beautiful at the top. The mountain up there is so beautiful. You go all the way up. You can't miss it. You have to do it. The view's amazing. I was like, you know what? I'll go for the view. I'll go for the memories. Let's go. So me and my two friends, we go on the lift. We go all the way up, and it's actually so far up that we had to do 2 lifts. And the whole time we were talking to the people near us, and they were like, it's a really easy blue. It's really nice. You're gonna like it. It's really high up. It's a beautiful view, whatever. So we're like, oh, this is the perfect one for us to do. This is gonna be awesome. Last 5 minutes, we'll end with a bang. It'll be awesome. We get all the way to the top, and it's exactly what everyone is describing to us. It was amazing. The view was so amazing. You could see the entire mountain. We were all the way up at the top. It was a beautiful, beautiful view. We took this cute picture. It was awesome, right? And so we start going down, and this is where it gets a little funky. So we get all the way up there, we're going down, and as soon as we're on the actual slope, all the snowblowers are on, blowing, full blast, cannot see. Luckily, I had goggles, so it wasn't terrible on my face, but I could not see a single thing. My poor friend Tess, she didn't even have goggles, so now she really can't see, and her face is cold. It was just awful conditions, okay? The snowblowers are on full blast the entire way. And like I said, it took us 2 lifts to get to the top. So this was a very long slope. The whole time I'm like, is this gonna be over yet? Is this over yet? Is this over yet? It was so bad. The first part wasn't too bad because it was at least calm to go down, but you really couldn't see. There were so many people on it. There were so many people sitting down because they just could not get themselves to go down it. And then somewhere in the middle of the slope, it got really bad. There was all these moguls. It was so bumpy. And all the snow that was blowing was just blowing around, and underneath was straight ice. I don't know if I mentioned this, but we went on one of the warmest weekends that there was in February. So all the snow just melted and became ice. And it was actually the scariest thing I've ever done. It was so scary. The whole time I'm like, oh my God, I can't even control what I'm doing. There was people in the way everywhere. I was so scared I was gonna hit someone. It was really narrow, and there was people just everywhere, sitting down, people falling. Everywhere you look, someone was wiping out completely. I don't even know how this slope was open, to be honest, because it was so bad. I was terrified going down this one. I was absolutely terrified because the conditions were truly just so bad. You were on straight ice. Even if you tried to stop and do the little pizza french fry thing, you couldn't stop. It was just straight ice. You were just skidding around. People were falling everywhere. And luckily we made it like 95% of the way, right? We get all the way. I can see the end. And I'm like, thank God we made it, right? I can see people waiting at the bottom. I'm like, thank gosh. But then there was one big hill right before that. I see my friend Peyton go down. I see someone else go down. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to fall. I'm going to fall, right? And boom, boom, boom. Everything happens in threes. She falls, the next person falls, then I fall. When I fell, my ski did not pop off. My knee just went straight in. And I think because my ski didn't pop off properly, that's what made it twist so hard. I felt the snap immediately, and I just said, ow, ow, like literally just like what I'm saying right now. My friend Peyton was on the ground too because she fell, and she's like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, ow, ow, ow. I don't even remember what I was saying. I wasn't screaming. I wasn't crying. I wasn't doing anything really dramatic. I just remember being like, ow. I popped my skis off and I just sit there for a minute. I couldn't even get up if I wanted to. Like, it was so icy. I just kept sliding down. So I slid out of the way so that at least other people coming down wouldn't hit into me. Because after I fell, a lot of other people continued to fall. Like, it was not us. It was the mountain. Okay, that's what I'm telling myself at least. Peyton's like, all right, well, I'm going to go the rest of the way down. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I just need a minute, right? So I just sit there for a minute. I'm like trying to figure out what happened. A few people come up to me separately. I don't even know how they did this. They must have been like insanely good skiers. They're like, are you okay? Do you need us to call someone? We saw you go down. You need us to call the people? I was like, absolutely not. I am not going on one of those things where they drag you on the sled. I was like, I'm not doing that. Absolutely not. I was like, I'm fine. I just need a minute. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, whatever. So then after I'm sitting there, I try to move myself on my butt to like a position that was good for me to stand up, because if you've ever fallen while skiing, especially on a steep hill, it is really hard to get up and put your skis back on because one foot's sliding out, the other foot's sliding out, whatever. So I'm like, let me get into a position that I can at least get up and get down this mountain, because there's absolutely no way I'm calling someone to scoot me down here. I'm going to do it myself, okay? So I get up, I figure it out, I go up sideways, I ski the rest of the way down, and I'm like, ooh, I took a really nasty fall back there. But I'm like, you know what? It's fine. I'm like, we're done. I'm going to pop these skis off. I'm sure I'm fine, right? But I knew deep down that something happened, but I didn't want to ruin the trip. Like, I don't know. I'm just not like that. I'm like, you know what? I'm going home tomorrow. It's going to be fine. I'll figure it out. We finally all meet up at the bottom. We take our skis off. We walk to the car, and I'm feeling it at this point. I'm like, ooh, I definitely did something to my knee, but whatever. We still had a whole weekend there. And if you know me, I am not letting this ruin my weekend. So we pack up all of our stuff. We go back to the house we rented, and we get dinner. We hang out. We're talking. And my knee was just like swelling up. And I could tell, but I wasn't going to say anything to my friends because, I don't know, I didn't want to go to the doctors or anything while I'm on a trip in another city, nothing like that. We all just hang out, I sleep. The next day I wake up and it was definitely hurting, but it was more like sore. Like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be to tear your ACL, but I also have a high pain tolerance, I think. So anyway, so the next day, it's Sunday. It's time for us to like pack up, leave the house, check out, whatever. We do all that, we clean everything up, we pack up the cars, and we leave. And while I'm driving, I'm like, ooh, this is definitely like sore. And I get all the way home though. I drive all the way home, I call my mom, and I'm like, yeah, skiing was good, but I took a fall, and I explained it to her, and she was like, you need to go to the orthopedic. And she's a nurse, so she usually knows what she's talking about. She's like, there's an orthopedic urgent care near you. You should go, but they close at 4 or whatever, or maybe 5. I was like, okay, cool. So me and my boyfriend, we sprint there. We drive so fast to get there because they were closing in 30 minutes, and it was 30 minutes away. I called them and let them know I was on my way, and they were like, yeah, you're fine. Like, we'll see you when you get here, whatever. I drive there. I'm back in New Jersey at this point, and I was explaining to them what happened, and they were like, how'd you do it? And I was like, skiing. And they were like, oh, where were you? Hunter Mountain? And mind you, that's all the way in New York. I was like, how did you know that I was in Hunter Mountain? And the girl at the front desk was like, we have seen so many injuries from that mountain this weekend because the conditions were so bad there. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, yeah, I can attest to that. They were so bad there. I was like, it was literally straight ice, whatever. I was just explaining it to her. They were like, okay, well, we'll see you. So I see a PA and she's asking me all the normal questions, and she's really, really nice. She was a really nice person. And she's like doing all these different movement tests, and she's like, your range of motion is really good. And she was like, your strength is really good. It doesn't seem unstable. And she was like, how's your pain tolerance? And I was like, I don't know, like a 5, because I definitely felt it, but it wasn't like excruciating. So I just said like a 5. Like I was kind of in the middle. Like it was definitely uncomfortable, but nothing crazy. And she was like, yeah, she was like, you probably just sprained it. She was like, I can tell that you're walking around fine. You seem fine. Like everything seems fine. But she did say that since I said I felt a pop, she was going to order an MRI to make sure. But she was like, based on your tests, everything seems fine. And I knew, because I felt this pop, like I knew something was wrong in my gut. I kind of knew that I tore something, but I did say to her, like, yeah, I felt this pop. I want an MRI type of thing, because she said everything seemed fine and it was probably just a sprain. Which, let me interject here actually and just say to you that if you ever feel like something is wrong in your body and the doctors or whoever you're seeing says, no, you're probably fine, but you know you're not fine, you need to advocate for yourself, because it's so easy to dismiss someone, especially if you have a high pain tolerance or you're not very symptomatic. Like that's always how I've presented, but it's very easy to get dismissed when you're like that. You're in your body every single day. You know what's normal and what's not. So if someone dismisses you, like advocate for yourself. Tell them, no, I felt this. I feel this amount of pain. Even if you have to exaggerate a little bit, I've learned that sometimes that helps me out better now, because if not, they don't take you seriously. If you say, oh, it's just a little bit painful, that to them is like, oh, nothing's really wrong. So if you ever feel like people are not listening to you and they're just dismissing you and you know something's wrong, absolutely advocate for yourself. This has happened to me multiple times in the medical field. Every single time I wish I just advocated sooner, because I knew in my body something was wrong, and 9 times out of 10, I'm right about what's going on in my body, and I'm sure other people can relate to this as well. So definitely advocate for yourself in the medical space. But anyway, luckily she did the MRI and she ordered that for me. And when I got the results back, it was like weeks and weeks later, because it takes a long time to get all of this stuff in and see a specialist and all that kind of stuff. I had a complete ACL tear. It was completely shredded up. My orthopedic surgeon showed me the MRI and she was like, you can't even see your ACL. It's that shredded up. But luckily, nothing else was torn. They were worried about my meniscus a little bit, but she was like, I can't really tell on the MRI. It's usually hard to see. So we'll know that once you're in surgery. So at this point, that was pretty much the next step, is just figuring out surgery, scheduling it, talking about rehab, prehab, and all that kind of stuff. I saw an amazing, amazing orthopedic surgeon, and that's another point that I want to make here. Do your research and find someone that you actually want to see. I know insurance makes it a little bit more complicated, but do your research on surgeons. Don't just go somewhere just because someone else told you about them, because you really want to take this seriously. I am so happy with the surgeon that I saw and I still continue to see now for all my checkups and stuff, because she is so amazing. She answers all my questions. She's an athlete herself. She did the Olympic trials for marathon running. Like she's like a really high level athlete outside of her job, which to me that's important, because I also live my life a very athletic and active way. So I wanted someone that understood that, because I want to get back to my normal activity level. And she understood all of my concerns. She treated me like an athlete from day one, because even though I'm not like a competitive athlete doing sports, I live my life in a very active way. She talked about my rehab and all of that and what it's going to look like as someone that's very athletic. So definitely do your research on surgeons, look them up. I looked her up. I read all her bios, all the interviews she's done. I read all kinds of things to make sure that she's really aligned with how I like to live my life. And I'm just so happy with my surgical team and how all of that went. And I'll actually get into that part now. So leading up to it, I had a bunch of appointments and answered a ton of questions and all the different things. going into surgery. And one of the things that matters for ACL is what graft you're going to use. If you didn't know, ACL, they can't just reconstruct your ACL. They have to take a graft from somewhere else and put that in to replace it. And sometimes they use your own tissue and sometimes they use a cadaver tissue. It depends on your lifestyle and your age and your gender and all these different things. But my surgeon was saying for me, at my age, at my activity level, my own tissue is going to be the best case or the best choice for me. I had the option between a patellar tendon or my quad tendon. And I chose quad tendon, which is a newer choice, but it's becoming more of the gold standard for ACL reconstruction, especially for females. And if you are in a similar situation, maybe you need surgery and you're talking about different tendons and whatever to use, ask your surgeon not only what they recommend, but also what they're the most skilled in, because she gave me the option between patellar tendon and quad tendon. I wanted to do quad tendon just based on how she was explaining it to me, but I wanted to make sure that she was also highly skilled in doing them, and she said that she does both pretty equally, so it didn't really matter. I ultimately chose quad tendon because I've read and researched that the kneeling is better with a quad tendon. I've heard that if you have your patellar tendon, kneeling can be pretty uncomfortable. I know with my lifestyle with dance and yoga, I want to be able to kneel pain-free, ideally. So that's what I chose, but it's really up to you, your lifestyle, and then also what your surgeon does the most of, because you definitely want someone that's very experienced in what they're doing on your body. And leading up to this, I did a ton of research before I even went into my appointment, because once I knew that it was torn, I knew that surgery was the most likely option. And I wanted to make sure that I was prepared with all the questions that I have. One thing I'll say to you is don't be afraid to ask a ton of questions. Like, you're not bothering your surgeon, even if you feel like you are. I know at first I was like, oh my God, I have this whole list of questions. They're busy. I don't want to bother them. But then I got it in my head, like, this is my body. I'm having a major surgery. I'm allowed to ask as many questions as I need to make sure that I'm on the right page and I know what to expect and everything is very cut and dry clear. Read every paper you're signing. Make sure you ask not only what the surgery is, but also recovery, prehab, like any question that you have, absolutely ask all of them. You're not bothering anyone. It's their job to answer your questions, and you're having a major surgery if you're in this similar boat. So that goes for anything though, even if it's not a surgery. If you're just seeing the doctor, ask as many questions as you need to. That's their job, and stop feeling bad about it. So anyway, so I go to the doctor, I do all my prehab stuff. I did a little bit of prehab with a PT just to get acquainted with them and make sure that they knew I was coming in and all that stuff. And then I had surgery. March 29th was my surgery day, and I'm 12 weeks post-op now. So it's been 12 weeks since my surgery. I can't believe it. And during the surgery, I had never had a major surgery like this before. The only other surgery I had was wisdom teeth, but that's not even full general anesthesia. ACL surgery is full anesthesia, tube down my throat, the whole thing. I also had a nerve block, which I didn't know that I was getting, and I wish that was a question that I asked because I showed up the day of surgery not knowing that I was getting a nerve block. It's basically where they put this needle a bunch of times in your quad to like cancel out the nerves. I don't know. It blocks all the nerves. My whole leg was numb. Yeah, I had no idea I was getting that. But the anesthesiologist said that he does it all day, every day, and it's very common. That made me feel a little bit better about it. It all went super smoothly. My surgical team was so amazing. This one guy, I'm not sure if he was a surgical tech or a nurse or what his role was, but he was with me during the nerve block, and he was just like hanging out with me, and he was like, what kind of music do you like? I'll play it. And he just played it on his phone. Like, he was just like, he didn't have a speaker or anything. There wasn't any headphones. He just played it on his phone. And my whole surgical team just made me feel really comfortable. I was definitely nervous because it is nerve-wracking, especially if you've never had a major surgery before. But I felt really comfortable, and the team that was around me made me feel like I was in a really safe place, and I asked a million questions still because, I don't know, I like to ask questions. It makes me feel better, makes me feel more in control. They just made me feel really comfortable. My mom was there with me, and then I started getting prepped for surgery. They did the nerve block. My mom wasn't there at that point, and then after that, the anesthesia starts to set in. I just remember being on the surgical table, all these doctors looking at me, and then boom, knocked out. Don't remember anything. I woke up in the little post-op room. I had my mom next to me. My leg brace was on, ice all over. My leg was huge. and everyone was just kind of waiting for me to wake up. I woke up. I remember being so thirsty because I didn't drink or eat anything that entire day. And I had been there since like 7 o'clock. And at this point it was like 2 or 3. It was probably like 3 o'clock. So I woke up and I don't really remember this fully because I was a little bit loopy still from the anesthesia, but everyone told me I woke up clapping and smiling and saying, "Yay, that's it, we're done," which definitely sounds like me. So I guess I was like that, but I remember being so thirsty. So they gave me this little cup of water with a straw and I just chugged it. Like I just chugged it. They gave me goldfish and then they gave me a ginger ale to go because I didn't feel all that good. They wheel me out of there. I get in my mom's car, and this part is a little bit TMI, but we're driving home. We had like a 50-minute drive. If you're squeamish, skip this part. I feel so sick while we're driving. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm car sick or what it is. I just felt so horrible. And then I was like, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. My mom said I got extremely pale in the car, and I looked in the mirror. I saw myself. I was definitely like a ghost. I did not feel good at all. She gives me this little bag that they gave me. I guess it's very common for people to throw up. So I threw up in the car, but I just threw up all the water I chugged. It wasn't any food or anything because I hadn't eaten in how many hours, but I just threw up. And then immediately I felt so much better. Then the rest of the car ride, I was like feeling good, back to life. Then I got home. I stayed with my mom for 2 weeks at her house, and she was amazing. She took care of me the whole time I was there. She made me all my meals, and she just made me feel so supported and not alone. When I got my surgery, I got it on Good Friday, which was right before my school spring break. So that entire week, my mom was off work, and so was I. I didn't even have to take any sick time that week. And then the week after, I took 5 days of sick time, and my mom went back to work. But that first 5 days, like, thank God we had off and she had off, because she really did help me so much. She made all my meals. She made sure I had everything I needed, and also just kept me company because it definitely gets a little lonely when you're recovering. But so many of my friends stopped by and brought over such nice things, and it was just a really sweet time. The pain was definitely something, but I didn't take any painkillers or anything like that. And that's another thing that I want to share because I don't think a lot of people talk about this. When I got my surgery, when I left, I had like 10 prescriptions of different pain medicine and then digestive medicine because the pain medicine hurts your stomach, and then all these different things. I had like 10 prescriptions, 2 opioids, another pain medicine, and then all these other things. I didn't take any of them. And it's actually really scary because this happens to a lot of people. If you know anything about the opioid crisis, this really happens to people where they have some freak injury, they have a surgery, they get pain medicine, and then they're supposed to be done the pain medicine and they never get off of it because it's so highly addicting. When I picked up the prescriptions, I went to the pharmacy and they just handed me a bag of prescriptions. No one told me, hey, only take these if you need them. Or, hey, to reduce your risk of addiction, here's what we recommend. Nothing. They handed me a bag of prescriptions and 2 boxes of naloxone in case I overdose, which is actually really terrifying as someone that's into public health and into this type of thing. The opioid crisis is a real thing, and it's really terrifying that this is just handed out, honestly, because I didn't use any of it. So that's a little scary, and obviously listen to your doctors, but also advocate for yourself in that sense as well. Because the prescriptions I had, they said to take these every 6 hours all around the clock and take more as needed, which is really scary because that's a lot of opioids, and to take them all at once, these 10 prescriptions around the clock like that and more as needed, like that's just a really scary thing. So definitely advocate for yourself and do your research on everything before you do it, and don't just follow things blindly. Because I was talking to my mom about this, like, no one really counseled me on that part. And I feel like as a society, we're all becoming a little bit better at advocating for our health and being more natural and doing things differently than before. But I still think there's a huge percentage of the population that trusts medical advice blindly and follows it like it's one size fits all. The pain was definitely there, but for me, it wasn't as high to warrant 2 opioids and another pain medication plus 7 other medications. But that's just my opinion. Again, I'm not a doctor. Don't listen to me for medical advice. This is just my experience, all of that legal stuff. So for that next week after surgery, I just chilled. It was difficult at first to force myself to relax, but it was also kind of nice at the same time. I had a lot of hobbies around me. I had some coloring books. I had some word searches. I had books I was reading. I was just staying busy. I stayed on the couch and kept my leg up as much as possible. And I was doing my physical therapy at home, literally that same day. It's a little bit confusing because you have this huge brace on that you can't unlock for 6 weeks. So my leg was completely straight for 6 weeks. But then they tell you to work on your knee bend. So I was a little bit confused because I'm like, how am I supposed to work on my knee bend if my leg is locked straight? But I had physical therapy literally the next day, and that's pretty common for ACL at least because they want you to get moving quickly. And that helped and made me feel a little bit more comfortable doing those types of things. And then after that, it was pretty much just following physical therapy as best as I could. I took off work 2 weeks, so that spring break and then the week after. And then after that, I went back to work. I still had the knee brace on, but I was off crutches, so that helped a lot. I was able to walk, I was able to drive. I definitely had a lot of discomfort, and looking back, I'm actually kind of shocked that I went back at that time because I was walking around a lot. But I also think that movement helped me a lot. And again, I'm not a doctor, but I do feel like all the movement that I got early on really helped me out because it started my muscles working again. One of the biggest things with quad tendon especially is your quad just loses its muscle. And you can still see it now. I'm 12 weeks post-op, and you can tell a distinct difference between my operated leg and my non-operated leg on my quad strength. You touch my non-operated leg and it's a muscle, and then you touch my operated leg and it's just skin and it jiggles a little bit. And it's okay. I'm okay with that because I'm working on it, but it's definitely a significant loss of muscle. So one of the biggest things now is I'm working on strengthening. But initially, after my surgery, the biggest thing was really getting range of motion back, specifically extension and then flexion, which is knee bend. So I did a ton of stretching, a lot of different exercises to work on my range of motion. I was so diligent. I still am diligent about my physical therapy. I never missed a session. I did them at home. Anything they said I had to do, I do. I do it at work. I do it at home. I am so on top of my physical therapy because this is a big deal. For ACL, if you're unaware, it takes around 9 to 12 months to get fully back to healing and fully back to your normal life. So it's a really long recovery. My opinion is I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize my recovery. Before this surgery, I was so active, pickleball, yoga, strength training, teaching dance at work during the day. I like to be active. I like to do a lot of things, and I want to get back to that as soon as I can. So for me, I just treat my physical therapy as if it's a workout session. I try to treat it very seriously and take it very seriously because your health is a big deal, and this recovery to me is a big deal. So that's kind of been my approach. In physical therapy, I do want to say also do your research. I wish I did a little bit more research going into it. I kind of just took the recommendations from my doctors on where to go, but I wish I did more research on other physical therapy offices. I like my therapist. I like where I go, but I have to advocate for myself every time that I'm there, and I'm constantly telling them this is really easy now, or how can we make this harder, or what else can I do? Can I add more weight? Can I make this harder? I'm constantly telling them to do more and do more and do more. I honestly think that they're used to people that either have never done strength training before or don't follow the program, don't do it at home. A lot of people cancel, a lot of people don't show up, and I think they're used to people that don't take it seriously. So when I come in and I've never missed a session and I'm there doing it very seriously, I think they're not used to seeing that, and I have to constantly remind them hey, no, I'm here, this is easy, let's make it harder, let's do more, I'm ready for more, that kind of thing. It's been fine, advocating for myself, it's been fine, but it's kind of frustrating sometimes. For example, today, I had this one therapist who's not even mine. She cut into my session with my therapist, and she was like, oh, well, I can't even do that now. I was doing the stretch, and it's the quad stretch where you pull your heel to your butt. And I can go all the way to my butt now because I work on it literally every single day. And I want to be flexible again. Like if you know me, you know that I work on my flexibility. I love to stretch. I literally teach dance. Flexibility is really important to me. So I would expect her to just be like, oh, that's awesome. We want to get both of your legs to be the same. Not like, oh, well, I can't even do that. So why do you care to be able to do that? I don't know. It just rubbed me the wrong way. And that's what I mean by advocating for yourself. I used to take it really personally in the beginning, but now I'm just like, no, I want both of my legs to be the same. I'm going to keep working on this. If you're in a similar boat or you're needing surgery for something, hopefully none of you are, but if you are, definitely do your research for physical therapy. And if you feel like it's easy, like advocate for yourself in that sense as well. You know your body, you know what's outside your comfort zone, you know what's easy and what's hard, and really advocate for yourself. At first, I felt really, really bad doing this, and I would tell my mom about it like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And then I kind of stopped feeling bad because it's their job to help you and they don't know what you're feeling. So it's important for you to vocalize that. I literally spend 2 to 3 hours there a week. Like it can get very routine and monotonous. So it's important for me to keep the ownership and keep taking initiative in my sessions. Physically, the injury has had its own challenges, like getting my range of motion back, getting my strength back. All of that has taken a long time and it has its own challenges. But mentally, the injury it's harder. Like the mental part is definitely the hardest part. Like I said, I'm still not able to do any of the activities that I normally do. I'm not able to play pickleball. I'm not able to do yoga. I'm starting to strength train, but I'm nowhere near what I was before. And it's difficult to think about that. But it's also like a grieving process. Like having this injury, I think I went through every stage of grief. Starting with the denial, then anger, then bargaining, then depression, and now I'm just in acceptance. And I definitely went through those 5 stages. In the beginning, I felt so bad about what happened, and I was so upset before my surgery, and I was just like, I can't believe I did this to myself over something so silly like skiing. Like I really was so upset and so mad at myself for feeling like I did this to myself. But then you get over it, and I started to really come to terms with it and understand like, look, this is where I'm at. This is how it is. I can either be sad about it and never do anything about it, or I can accept it and put my all into my physical therapy, learn something from this, come out stronger on the other side. And that's the path I decided to take of this is where I'm at and this is how it's going to be. And I can either accept it or not. And I choose to accept it and embrace it and take it really seriously. It definitely sucks sometimes and it's not linear. This healing process has not been linear in the slightest. Some days are better and worse than others. I had 2 falls in this process so far. I slipped 2 different times and those 2 times were so terrifying. I was so scared I retore it. But you just keep pushing through. This summer, it's been a little bit challenging because everyone's doing all these different activities outside. People are just having fun. And sometimes I feel like I'm missing out because I'm not able to do everything. But then I also look back and I'm like, look at how far I've come in the past 12 weeks. And that's where my mind has been about all of it. I kind of just look back and be proud of how far I've come because when I tell you the beginning was so hard, not being able to put my own pants on, needing someone to help me shower and get in the car, all of that was so much harder than where I'm at right now. Just seeing how far I've come has been so rewarding. Like now I'm doing strength training. I'm on the leg press. I beat this record in my physical therapy office. I'm number 1 on the leaderboard with this reaction time thing. I just look back and I'm like, wow, I was struggling to shower and struggling to put my pants on. And now I'm doing all these different things and I feel stronger. And I look back and I'm like, I did that. Like my body is doing that and healing. And that feels really good. And it's just going to keep happening. And that's what I keep reminding myself as well. Like I'm just going to keep getting stronger. I'm going to keep working hard. And that's kind of the path that I'm choosing to take because if not, you just get sad about it. So now I'm just working as hard as I can to get back to where I was before surgery, maybe even stronger after. One of my biggest lessons or things that I remind myself of is to keep advocating for myself. That's like the biggest thing that I recommend to you if you're in any similar situation. you have to help yourself. Yes, you hire people to help you. You have a physical therapist, you have a doctor, all these people in your corner. But at the end of the day, this is your journey. This injury is my journey to deal with and my journey to work on. And I need to do the work. I need to go to the gym the days that I'm not in physical therapy. I need to stretch at home. I need to do all the things that I need to do because no one's going to do it for me. No one is going to heal me for me besides myself. My physical therapist can give me exercises and they can tell me different things that I can do, but at the end of the day, it's my life and it's my progress, and it's up to me to decide how well I do at it. And that's exactly what I recommend to you as well. Like, if you are in this situation, really take ownership of it, because even though it sucks and it's definitely not ideal, if you don't take ownership, it's not going to go ideally either. But if you take ownership and understand, this is my journey, this is where I'm at, I'm in control of how much effort I give to this, then you're going to be in good shape. You're going to be fine. I'm way ahead of where I'm supposed to be in terms of my athleticism and my strength and my range of motion. People tell me all the time at physical therapy that I'm doing really good for where I'm at, 12 weeks. And my doctor says the same thing. And I think it's really because I do the work at home and I do the work outside of there. And I constantly am pushing myself. Of course, be mindful and don't overdo it. It's tempting. There are times where I'm like, ooh, I feel like I could do way more than this. But you have to listen to your body and feel that sweet spot of, no, this is a good challenge for me and I'm not overdoing it, because you also don't want to set yourself back. And that's something that I'm trying to work on as well. Overall, it's been a really rewarding and challenging but growing journey for me. It's made me grow a lot in different ways that I never expected. It's going really good. And also, I'm never going skiing again, if you wanted to know. As soon as that trip was done, I got rid of my skis, I gave them away, and that was that. I said I'm never doing this again. So don't ask me to go skiing because I'm not going. But I hope that this gave you some insight into what happened, but also some motivation, I guess. And maybe someone listening has been through something similar or is going through something similar. That's kind of the story. That's what happened. That's how it's going. That's the update. I still have a long way to go, but I also feel like I've come a long way and I'm very proud of that. If you've ever been through something like this, you understand how challenging it is mentally, but it makes you stronger in the long run. So I'm excited for that strength to come out. I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a great summer week. And I will talk to you next week. Let me know what you think on the podcast Instagram at Nerdy and Flirty Pod or me at Cass Camp. I will talk to you next week. Have a great day. Bye.